Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. There are certain prayers we recite before reading Bhagavatam from the first canto, second chapter. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Shrunvatam svakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridiyantastho bhadrani vidunoti surutsatam. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for joining. So today we are going to discuss about little overview, a very high level, very short overview of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Bhagavatam is actually, it will be challenging to cover this in hour or two, but we'll see. We'll take a very high level overview what is in Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam is said to be book form of Lord Krishna or Grantha avatar of Lord Krishna, which appeared after Lord Krishna disappeared from this world. So let's get into this. Let me start slideshow. So please tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. Thank you. So obviously, I cannot proceed without offering my respects to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He is founder Acharya of ISKCON or International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And because of him, we are learning all this Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the Vedic knowledge. And he has given his mercy to all over the world, even the people who had no idea about Bhagavad Gita or our Vedic culture. So what is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is considered to be the topmost Vedic scripture. So it is one of the Purāṇas. So there are 18 Purāṇas, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is said to be the topmost Purāṇa. It is also called as Vedanta Sutra or Vedanta commentary by the author of Vedas himself, that is Srila Vyasadeva. So it is the cream of essence of everything. And Srila Prabhupada, so different acharyas has mentioned the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prabhupada mentioned always that this is the postgraduate study of the science of Krishna after Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is elementary study of the science of God, and then Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the postgraduate study which gives us practical examples through various stories and pastimes for what we have learned in the Bhagavad Gita. This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is divided into 12 cantos or 12 skanda, and it has total 18,000 shlokas. 18,000 verses. So in the Bhagavatam itself, the third shloka says that Nigama kalpatoror galitam phalam shukamukhad amruta drava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. So Nigama kalpataro. Nigama means Vedas, and kalpataro is the desire tree, which gives us all the whatever we desire from. So the Vedas are said to be the kalpataro, which gives us different desires from different branches of the Vedas. So here Sutta Goswami, who is reciting this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the forest of Naimisharanya, which is near Lucknow in the northern part of India in Uttar Pradesh. So he is mentioning this, that, O expert, O Bhavuka, O thoughtful man, relish this, Pibata Bhagavatam, relish this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is Galitam phalam, the mature or rasrashit पूर्ण juicy fruit असं आहे ते त्या निगम कल्पतरूचं हे fruit आहे असं. So which is the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures, and it has emanated from the lips of Sri Shukdev Goswami. Therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful. जसं आपण लहानपणी आम्ही ऐकायचो की एखादा पोपटाने टोचलेला जर हे असं टोच मारलेला जर पेरू असेल तर तो पेरू खूप गोड असतो असं. So Shuka means also parrot. So Shukdev Goswami, because it has coming from the Shukdev Goswami's mouth, it has become very tasteful and nectarian. Although it is nectarian juice, was already relishable for all, including the liberated souls. So that's what Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is. It's the most beautiful poem, long poem, and it's the most beautiful scripture that is said to be in the Vedic literature. So who is the author? So author is Srila Vyasadeva, whose name is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. So if it is okay, I can mute everyone, and if you can always unmute and say something or just raise your hand. So Srila Vyasadeva, he divided all the Vedas. So there was one Veda in the beginning, but because he saw that people will not understand this, so he divided this one Veda into 4 Vedas, that is Samaved, Rigved, Yajurved and Atharvaved. And then he also added some commentaries or supplements like Purāṇas, Itihasas, including, so Itihasas like Mahabharata, and then Purāṇas, there are 18 Purāṇas, then other Upanishads, so that in general people can understand this. And he gave this to his different disciples and made them professor of each of the areas. But after writing all this, he was still not satisfied within his heart. So he was contemplating on that on the bank of river Saraswati in his ashram, when his spiritual master, his guru Narada Muni, came there, and then he asked his reason to his Gurudev that why I'm not satisfied after writing this. And then Narada Muni instructed him that even though you have given all this Vedic literature, because it involves mostly in karma kanda and the modes of material nature, you have not given the direct information about the God. You have given that indirectly. And that's why he instructed him to write this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the direct information of the Supreme Lord, and that is Krishna. So that's how he wrote this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this is mentioned in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto itself. So then here in the very first chapter, Sutta Goswami, when he recites this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the forest of Naimisharanya, so he heard it from the Shukdev Goswami when he recited it to Parikshit Maharaj, who is son of Abhimanyu and Uttara, or grandson of Pandavas, or grandson of Arjun. So he heard it there, and he is narrating this to the sages who were doing like 1,000-year sacrifice for the people in general in Kali Yuga, because they saw that in Kali Yuga people will be degraded, they will not have enough information. So for their guidance, they were doing yajna, and in there, so they asked to him that since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all the mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, because Krishna has left this planet, please tell us to whom the religious principles have taken shelter now. the dharma and jnana, whose shelter, काष्टाम वधू नोपेते dharma kam sharanam gata. Dharmani konachi sharan घेतली. So to answering this, he says in the next chapter actually that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purāṇam, idam Bhāgavatam Purāṇam, Brahma Samhitam, Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakaram Bhagavan Rishi. So this is the literary incarnation of God, Sri Krishna himself, and it is compiled by Sri Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God, who Vyasadeva is also incarnation of God, and it meant for the ultimate good for all people, and it is successful and all blissful in all perfect. And then he further says that this Krishna Swadhama Pagate, when Krishna has gone to his Swadhama, Dharma Jnana Vibhisaha, with Dharma Jnana and all auspicious qualities, then Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Purāṇarko Dhunodita. So this, they have taken shelter. This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has arisen as sun to remove the darkness of this Kali Yuga. So this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is as brilliant as sun, Arka, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion and knowledge, etc. Dharma, Jnana, Adi. The persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purāṇa. And that's why Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the incarnation of God in this yuga. It's called Grantha Avatara. So Krishna himself has appeared in this. So in Padma Purāṇa, it said that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is God himself, and it's different. Bhāraja-skandhe, the 12 cantos are actually his limbs. So what are those? The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is non-different from Krishna. So, and his cantos, the 12 cantos represent limbs of Lord Krishna. So the first and second canto, first two cantos are his lotus feet. So it is, the images are given here, lotus, this chapter and everything, and they are marked as that. The third and fourth are his thighs. The fifth his navel. The sixth canto is his chest. Seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. Ninth is his throat. The 10th canto is one of the most beautiful cantos where we hear about Krishna Lila in one of the longest cantos, which has 90 chapters, is his lotus face. The 11th is his forehead, and the 12th is his head. And as in Bhagavatam also, it says that how we should take darshan, or how we can do dhyana of Bhagavan. So we should always start from his lotus feet. So even in temple, when we go, according to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam's instructions, or in the Vedic literature, it is said that we should start from his lotus feet and slowly progress to his face, and that's how we should meditate on him, or we should take darshan of him. So in the same manner, this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam also, we should start reading in the order, step by step, from first canto to 10th canto, and then go forward. So in that order, if we study it on regularly basis, that's how it is recommended that we should read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So the reference of this different is given in Padma Purāṇa. So Padav Yadiya Prathama Dvitiya. So Prathama and Dvitiya Skanda are his legs, Padav. Tritiya Turyam Kantita Yad Uru. So his third and fourth are said to be his Uru, means the thighs. Then Nabis Tatha Panchamam. Eva Shashto Bhunjanam Dor Yugalam Tathayam. So Nabhi is Panchama, chest is Shashta, and seventh and eighth are his Bahus. And then Kantastu Rajan Navamo Yadiyo. So Kantha is Navama, and Mukhara Vindam Dashamam Prafullam. So his 10th canto is his lotus face. Ekadasha Yasya Lalata Pattam. And 11th canto is his Lalata or Kapal. And then Shiropitu Dvadasha Eva Bhati. So this is description giving about Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in Padma Purāṇa. And then he offers further references that to that Bhagavatam I offer my obeisances. What? Tam Adidevam Karuna Nidhanam. So this Adidevam, this Bhagavatam also is nothing but Adidevam, and it is Karuna Nidhanam. It is very compassionate. And then Tamala Varnam. So it is incarnation of the Tamala Varna Krishna. Suhita Avataram. So this avatar is for hita of everyone, for everybody's benefit. And Apara Samsara Samudra Setu. So his setu or bridge to cross over this Apara Samsara Samudra. So this material ocean of birth and death is difficult to overcome, but this Bhagavatam becomes the bridge between that. Bhajamahe Bhagavat Swarupa. So to that Bhagavat Swarupa Bhagavatam, I am offering my obeisances. So this is given here that all these different cantos are his different limbs, and then I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamala tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare, for suhitam of all. I worship him as the bridge of crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Apara samsara samudra setu. That Bhagavatam has appeared as his very self. So this Bhagavatam is nothing but Lord Krishna himself. Now there are 10 topics at very high level described in the Bhagavatam. So this is mentioned in the second canto, last chapter, when Shukadeva Goswami is reciting this to Parikshit Maharaj. So what are these? It says that Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam Poshanam Utaya Manvantare Shanukatha Nirodho Muktir Ashraya. So Sarga. So the 10 topics are Sarga, or the primary creation of this whole material world and material universes. Then Visarga is the secondary creation done by Brahmaji after getting these ingredients and knowledge from Lord Krishna. Then the third one is Sthanam. So for all these living entities, then there has to be some place that is to be fixed. So there are 14 planetary systems and everything that is created for their place, so where they can live. Poshanam, then the devotees, protection by the Lord. Poshanam. So he is the one who is maintaining us. Then Utaya. Uti means impetus for work. So all we are engaged in some or other kind of work. So what is the prerogative? What is the impetus? What is the reason why everybody is working? So that impetus is Utaya. So that is one topic. Manvantaras. So in one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus come, and then each Manu comes with 7 rishis and devatas, and everybody like his own cabinet, and then he gives guidance for everybody, and so that his duration is called Manvantara. So then what happens in this Manvantara, which different his devatas come and all that. So that is Manvantaras. Then Ishanukatha, the science of God himself. Science or his incarnations, how they come, what do they do, what type of activities they do, what reasons why they come in this material world. So all those Isha Anukatha. Nirodha means pralaya, or winding down. So there are different types of winding down or annihilations, pralayas. So those are in Mukti, liberation from this material entanglement, and then Samam Bonam or Ashraya. So who is the Ashraya, or who is the Samam Bonam of all this? That is Lord Shri Krishna. So these are the 10 topics at very high level described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So that's what in a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in a nutshell is. So we can go over the different cantos and what topics are covered in each canto. So first canto, which describe basically the history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So it starts in the Naimisharanya forest, where these sages, lots of sages, they have started one yajna for the benefit of the people in Kali Yuga, because they can foresee that people in Kali Yuga will be suffering a lot. So for their benefit, they thought, okay, we should perform some yajna so that they can benefit for this. And when Suta Goswami appeared there, they took him as a speaker, accepted him as a speaker, and they started asking different questions. So, so they asked these 6 questions in the very first chapter. So what is the highest good for people in general? What is the essence of all the scriptures? Then purpose of Krishna's appearance in this material world. his Purusha avatars. So these Purusha avatars are this Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, which facilitate the whole creation. Then his Leela avatars, which we commonly know as Dasha avatars mainly, but he performs many Leelas, and for that Leelas he takes different incarnations. Then then this is the last question what we read, where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? So these chapters kind of flow in this way. So this first canto is about history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which was spoken earlier by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and that's where Sutta Goswami heard. So he narrates all this. So he's to answering these questions, he says that this is the essence of all the Vedic literature. And then there is divinity. What is the divinity? That Lord Krishna himself is divinity, and the divine service is doing bhakti of him. In the third chapter, there is description of many incarnations of Krishna. There are like 24 or plus some prominent incarnations are given. And then it says that this is just a mere indication how great Lord is, but then it also confirms that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that the source of all these incarnations is Krishna, and he is the Supreme Lord. Then in this canto, there is instructions by Narad Muni to write Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Vyasadeva because he was not satisfied. Then Ashwathama, because he kills after the war, he kills 5 sons of Draupadi when they were sleeping. So Arjuna punishes him. So that narrations are there. Then when Lord Krishna is ready to depart from Hastinapur for Dwarka, there are some beautiful prayers by Kunti, Queen Kunti. And sometimes we say that there is no enough importance given to women in our Vedic culture. They are considered as lower. But if we read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the very first set of prayers comes by Kunti Devi. And those are very beautiful prayers. And then at that time, again, Ashwathama comes and he tries to kill Pandavas by Brahmastra, and he also tries to kill Parikshit, who at that time was in the womb of Uttara. But Lord Krishna saves all of them, and he saves Parikshit in the womb of Uttara. And then before he leaving, again, Yudhishthir was very sad because he thinks that because of him, all this the war of Kurukshetra happened and all these people died. So nobody can console him. So then Lord Krishna takes him to meet Bhishmadev, who is still lying on the bed of arrows. And then Bhishmadev gives him guidance how to rule and what his dharma is and all those instructions. And at that time, he also offers some really beautiful prayers. In Mahabharata, those we commonly know as Vishnu Sahasranam. So those prayers he offers to Lord Krishna, and then he gives up his body. Then Lord Krishna's departure from Hastinapur and his entrance in Dwarka, they are very glorious pastimes given there. How he is, there is Vipralamba Bhav in Hastinapur because he is living, but everybody loves him. So they are in the mood of separation. And the opposite is in Dwarka. Then when he comes there, everybody is very happy and they welcome him very nicely. Then Vidura comes home, and when Dhritarashtra is living with Pandavas, but he guides Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, and Dhritarashtra quits home, and then he gets liberated after leaving his home. Then there is a mention of Maharaj Parikshit's birth, and when Maharaj Parikshit is ready to rule, when Pandavas hear about Krishna's departure from this world, they are really sad, and Yudhishthir then enthrones Parikshit as king of Hastinapur, and they retire timely. They just live towards the north. Then Parikshit Maharaj is mentioned as one of the great kings, and actually in today's politicians we can learn a lot from this scripture and the way how Parikshit ruled this kingdom. So he meets the Kali personified, the Kali Yuga, and then he punishes him. Kali was beating a cow and a bull in the form of earth in the form of cow, and bull is dharma. So Parikshit punishes him, but because Kali surrenders to him, he gives him 4 places to live, and those are called the 4 most sinful activities where they are happening. That's where Kali can reside. And those what we talk about that we should avoid, these are the root 4 sinful activities, root cause of all other sins. And that is association outside marriage with women or men, then intoxication or any type of intoxication, be it drinking or any kind of intoxication, then meat eating, and then gambling. These 4 are said to be the most sinful activities. And that time he gives the Kali option, because Kali said, I cannot go anywhere. So he gives them option that you can live in these 4 places. But then Kali asks him that in your kingdom, it is all over world and there is no such place like this. So give me something different. So then he says that you can live where there is gold. So these are the some activities. And then in the end, a Brahmana boy, he is immature for some offense of Parikshit Maharaj. He curses him that he would die, Parikshit would die by snake bird bite, takshaka bite, in 7 days. And that's where this canto ends. And then Parikshit Maharaj, because he was cursed, he accepts this as a boon, and he then goes on fast for 7 days on the bank of river Ganga, where all the sages from all over the universe come. And that's where Shukdev Goswami also appears. So Shukdev Goswami is son of Srila Vyasadeva, and he is a very learned and sannyasi. And Parikshit Maharaj takes shelter. They all accept Shukdev Goswami as their speaker. And then he asks him 2 questions. What is the duty of a man or person in general? And what is the duty of a person who is about to die? So those are very beautiful questions. And this is kind of setting the scene. And that's in the next canto, then the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami starts. So Shukdev Goswami then starts asking. So these are some beautiful narrations. Every canto is like a lotus feet and a lotus flower, and then each petal here is like one chapter. So this chapter 1 has this theme, chapter 2 has this theme. So we have this book. This I found really very helpful. Each chapter gives narrations very or depict these pastimes very beautifully. So second canto, then answering to Parikshit's question, he goes into detail, and in the second he gives the yoga process, complete yoga process. And he mentions how the jnanis, they worship Brahman realization, or they focus on the Virata Rupa. The yogis or the dhyanis, they focus on the Paramatma realization in the heart. But the real devotees, they understand who is Bhagwan, and they engage directly in his loving devotional service, or that is what we call as bhakti. And then he gives supremacy of bhakti. Then he further narrations, he gives a narration of creation, how this universe is created, how Brahma is created and everything, how this Brahmaji appeared on the lotus flower that sprouts from the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, how he does his tapa, and how after his prayers he gets knowledge from Vishnu, and then how he starts his creations. Then there is another set of descriptions of the incarnations here and their specific functions. Then Parikshit Maharaj asks several other questions there, citing Lord's version. How does he create? What is the karma? How does everybody act and entangled in by karmic cycle and everything? And then he generally says that Bhagavatam is the answer to all. And in the last canto, last chapter of this, he describes the words we just read. He mentions about the 10 topics of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But this establishes that Krishna is Supreme Lord, and his bhakti is the supreme occupation one living entity can do. So in the third canto, there is description about, so when Shukdev Goswami is narrating, so he brings up lots of other conversations which happened in the past. So it starts with Vidura. When he was on the pilgrimage, he met Uddhava, and then Uddhava so Vidura Uddhava Samvad. So Vidura talk about Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, in Dwarka, in Mathura, and other pastimes. And then Uddhava then asked Maitreya to go to see Uddhava then asks Vidura to go to sage Maitreya for getting more narration, more instructions. And he goes to Badrikashram. And then there is lots of philosophical discussions between Vidura and Maitreya, where there is again very nice description about universal form, manifestation, how Brahma is created and Garbhodaksha, Vishnu and everything. Then there is one very scientific chapter on 11th chapter about calculation of time from atom. So what is atom? So, and how time is calculated from that. And then this time from the very minutest or the smallest unit of time, which in modern scientific way calculated, or the lowest unit is called Truti, and that is calculated according to modern time is 8 divided by 13,500th of a second. So that is the smallest unit of time that is described. And the largest unit of time is called Mahan, or that is the life of the whole universe. And in between all these time durations are given. So there are different units of time they are given. So that's very nicely described. And there are also then the yugas, 4 yugas, what is life of Manu, what is life of Brahma, and everything that is given. Then appearance of Lord Varaha, we read this chapter last week, and descriptions of Vaikuntha. So Vaikuntha planet, how Vaikunthas are there, what types of living entities are there, what do they do, that is also given. Then by Varaha, killing of demon Hiranyaksha is there, their fight and everything. Then it changes topic to marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So Devahuti is the daughter of the first Manu, that is Swayambhuva Manu. So Kardama Muni, he is one of the great sages, and he prays to the Lord that he wants a son like him. And because there is nobody like Lord said that I will appear myself as your son. And then he gets married to Devahuti. Then there is a family life, that is ideal family life mentioned between Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And then Lord Kapira appears as their son. And then Lord Kapila then gives instructions to his mother Devahuti. So there are very nice, beautiful chapters about all the Sankhya philosophy and karma, and then how the moment of living entity, why living entity takes birth in certain family and all that stuff, and then how the progression of womb happen, or the living entity happens in the womb of a mother. All the 9 months, what phases it goes through, all is described very nicely. And then he says that Gramya Katha Varjam and Bhakti. So we should not engage in our other political and other things, but instead we should engage in Bhakti. So it again glorifies the Bhakti. So that's where this chapter ends, this canto ends. The 4th canto is description of some great personalities. So it gives descriptions of daughters of Manu, so Devahuti, Akuti and Prasuti, and who they are married and how their dynasties are given and everything. Then there are stories about Lord Shiva, Daksha and Sati. So Lord Shiva, we probably have heard these stories that Sati was Lord Shiva's first wife, and then she was daughter of Daksha, and Daksha, when he was doing some yajna, she was not invited, but all the devatas were invited, but she insisted Lord Shiva to go, and then she goes and Daksha insults her or insults Lord Shiva, and then there is war between them, and then so all that stories are in here. Then the story of Dhruva Maharaj, we all know Dhruva Maharaj, how he was offended by his stepmother in the childhood, and how he went to forest to pray Lord Krishna, and how he got the kingdom and everything. But there is many chapters, and there are so many philosophical understandings we can learn from this pastime. So those are also there, his descendants. And then King Dhruva, actually, after getting his boon, he ruled for 36,000 years. And then his fight with the Yakshas and all that, those descriptions are here in this chapter. Then King Pruthu's appearance. So Pruthu is also another incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. So his appearance, and then he does 100 horse sacrifices. That time Indra tries to prevent him from doing that, as he's always afraid of somebody will take him away from his throne. Then there are descriptions of the characteristic of King Purāṇa. So Purāṇa is a character who is depicted as a soul, and this body of 9 gates is as his city where he lives, which we learn in Bhagavad Gita as well. And there are descriptions how this soul or Purāṇa lives in the city of these 9 gates, and how he again and again engages in karmic reactions and gets entangled in that. Then there is a there is a King Prachanbarhi, his sons Prachetas, and how Narada Muni instructs him. Narada Muni will hear him all the time, everywhere, in many times. So he instructs Prachetas, and there are some beautiful prayers that Prachetas recite. And so those are also mentioned in this 4th canto. Then moving on to 5th canto. So 5th canto is, so all these cantos actually, if we see, so from 3rd canto, the main topics are Sarga and Visarga, which we said that the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. So creation and then the sub-creation. Creation, actual original creation by Lord Krishna, and then the sub-creation by Brahma using the intelligence given by God and using the ingredients given by, so that is secondary creation. So in the 4th canto, there's instructive stories about the great personalities, and the 5th canto, then it continues with Visarga, and then Sthanam, or the 14 planetary systems, which is created by Lord so that the living entities can reside there. So in this, it begins with Rishabadeva. Rishabadeva is another incarnation of Lord Krishna. He appeared in the womb of Meru Devi and King Nabhi. So he is said to be the original Tirthankar from whom Jainism started. So Rishabdeva's pastimes and his instructions are actually very, very beautiful. So he had 100 sons, and the oldest his name was Bharat. The other are called 9 Navayogendras, and then other 90 they took sannyas and they left immediately. So to his all sons, Rishabdev gave some very beautiful instructions that Tapo Divyam, that after getting this human body, don't waste your life in just some sense gratification or Indriya Sukha, because that is even available to dogs and hogs. That's what he says. So what is the then duty we can do? So he said to his sons that you should engage in tapa, austerity. That is the prime duty of the human form of life, which gives you Brahma Saukhyam Tvarantam, which gives you eternal happiness that is unlimited. And that's what he tells him. Then his son Bharat, so his activities are given in this next chapters. So his 3 lives are mentioned here actually. As a king, Bharat, he leaves everything and goes to live in a cottage, and then when he was engaged in his service and spiritual life progress, somehow or other he gets attached to a deer, and that causes his fall. So because he gets attached to this deer, in the next birth he is born as a deer because of the consciousness he develops with attachment to the deer, and then he regrets. But then after giving up that deer body, he again is born in a Brahmana family. Again, his name is Bharat. But at that time, and because of his all spiritual progress he has done, he remembers everything, and he pretends to be, he acts as dumb person. So he doesn't listen to anybody. He is just Atmaram. He is self-satisfied. And that's why his name is named as Jada. Jada means something who is not very intelligent. So Jada Bharat. So he leaves his home, and then he goes through different places, and he's just wandering on streets. And then at one place, King Rahuguna, a king named Rahuguna, he is looking for one person to carry his palanquin. त्याची पालखी नेण्यासाठी त्याला 3च माणसं असतात. So he's looking for one. He sees this dumb person on the street, and he engages him in his service. And somehow because he cannot do the job really good, he gets very angry on his Jada Bharat. And then when Jada Bharat starts talking, this king Rahuguna, he is also a saintly king, so he realizes this person is not really dumb. And then there is a conversation between King Rahuguna and Jad Bharat, and Jad Bharat instructs him. So those are also very beautiful instructions. Then there is descriptions about King Priyavrata. So King Priyavrata is a son of the first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. So he had two sons, Uttanapad, who is father of Dhruva, and King Priyavrata. So the descendants of King Priyavrata and descriptions of this Jumbo Dweep, which is one of the Dweepas in the whole 14 planetary systems in this universe that is mentioned. Then descents of river Ganga, how Ganga came to this material world. This is actually from the spiritual world, but how Ganga came in this material world, that is described here. Then structure of the universe. So that's what Sthanam is. So how this whole universe is structured, what are the planetary systems, where is sun located, how the sun also rotates in its own orbit, and that's how days and nights happen, and how it takes away life from us, and that's how time is also created, which is nothing but said to be one of the energies of Lord. Time is energy of Krishna. Then there is subterranean heavenly planets. The description is given Swarga Loka and all Patala Loka. Then there is glories of Ananta, who is on whose hood all this planetary system is resting. And then there is very brief or detailed description of the 14 the hellish planets, Naraka Loka, in the last chapter of this. But more details are given in the Garuda Purāṇa at very detailed length. But here it gives in one chapter all, and so different hellish planets, and who goes to which hellish planet for what reason and what type of punishments are there, that is given in this 27th chapter of this canto. The 6th canto, that is midway of this chapter. So this is called as the main topic of this is Poshanam. Poshanam is how Lord supports or maintains his devotees and all other living entities. So here in this, it starts with Ajamil Upakhyan. So Ajamil, the story of a Brahman boy called Ajamil. So his history of life and deliverance, it is given. So he is a young boy who somehow or other gets in bad habits. He marries one prostitute and then he gives up his wife and engages in all kinds of bad habits. But at the end, when he is on the deathbed, Yamadutas come to grab him. But at that time, his son, he has a youngest son, he names him as Narayan. He's just playing nearby. So he calls helplessly to his son Narayan. And immediately the Vishnu Dutas come there. And then there is a very nice conversation between Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. Yamadutas are very surprised that something like this happened, because they know this person was very sinful and he has to go through lots of punishment. But Vishnu Dutas say that he does not come in your, authority right now, in your jurisdiction now, because he has uttered offenselessly name of Narayan before when he was giving up his body. And then Vishnu Dutas, Yamadutas go back and they narrate this story, this incident to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj then tells him this, that yes, they don't come in our jurisdiction, don't even go there. So, and then he is saved, and then he sees all this, what happened, and then he is given a second chance. So he realizes all blunder he has done. He goes to Badrikashram and then spends the rest of his life in bhakti of Lord Krishna. Then there is a story of Narad Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. So Prajapati, so everybody has his own duties, and the higher they are, they get directions directly from Brahmaji. So Prajapatis their duty is to create progeny, so that all the living entities can be born in this universe, and they are given chance to somehow or other get liberated from this. So Prajapati is given this duty to create progeny. So he creates thousands of sons, and when they go for doing tapasya and follow their father's order. Somehow Narad Muni goes there and he gives them instructions, and because of Narad Muni's instructions, they give up everything and they engage in Krishna's bhakti. And they said, oh, we are not going to get married, so we are not going to create progeny. So Prajapati Daksha is very angry on Narad because of that. Narad is giving good instruction to them. So Prajapati Daksha then cursed Narad Muni that because you are instructing them, you will not have any shelter. So Narad Muni doesn't have a place. He's just wandering all over the universe all the time. So that is one of the stories. Then there is Indra offends his spiritual master Brihaspati. Once when Indra is, because he's intoxicated by his power, Brihaspati enters his palace and Indra doesn't rise to show him respect. And so Brihaspati just rejects him and then leaves. And it is said that without Guru, all our power is lost. All our, be it material or spiritual, everything is lost. So without Guru, when Devatas are there, the demons take opportunity and then they attack Devatas. They realize that, oh, Brihaspati has abandoned Devatas. They attack Devatas and they win the war. So now now Indra is in trouble, and now he is looking for Brihaspati. So he is given direction by Brahmaji that you should get another guru in the meantime. So he earns Narayana Kavacha is described here, how Narayana Kavach can protect. And then he goes to a sage called Dadichi, and he asked for his bones, and he accepts one guru, and then he, because of that, his thunderbolt, because of those bones, his thunderbolt gets more power, and then he fights a war with demons. But demon at that time prays, and they ask for powerful demon to appear, and then Vritrasura named demon appears. So he actually, and then he is killed by Indra. But before he is killed, he offers very beautiful prayers to Lord Krishna. So hearing those, Parikshit Maharaj is confused that he is a demon. Why is he offering prayers to Krishna? And why at the end, when Indra after kills him, offers him obeisances? So then Shukadeva Goswami narrates his previous life story that he was King Chitraketu earlier, and he became demon because he was cursed by Mother Parvati. And then Chitraketu's whole story is there, that he did not have son, so he asked Angira Muni that he should get a son, and then he got son, but he died immediately. And then his lamentation is given, and then how Narad Muni instructs him, and he becomes a devotee of Krishna, and he gives up everything. And then when he was passing over Kailasha, he laughed when in the assembly of all the male, and with Lord Shiva, Parvati was sitting on his lap, and so Parvati took that as an offense and cursed him. So he accepted that curse as a boon or mercy, and then he offers obeisances to Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva, and then goes. So Parvati was very surprised by his demeanor. He said he was not agitated, or he was not anxious, or he was not fearful by the curse I have given, or he was not even angry. So why is that? Then Lord Shiva tells him that because he is taken shelter of Lord Krishna's feet. And then he says that Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibbhati swarga pavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshana. That Narayana devotees, Narayana para, whoever are they are not disturbed by anything happens to them. And for them, Swarga, Apavarga means liberation, or Narak, everything is same. Apitulyartha darshana. So that are the glory. Those are the glories of devotees that's given. And then in the end of this canto, Diti, who is one of the wives of Kashyapa Muni. So Diti. Aditi's sons are called Adityas. Diti's sons are Rakshasa or Daityas. So she vows to kill Indra because he is always killing demons. So, and then she performs a vrata, a very severe vrata called Pumsavana rituals. So that description is given here. So it is like 6th canto, before we go further, we'll take some reflections. I guess that not, and then I'll just continue. So then the 7th canto is one of the favorite for kids because there is story of Narsingha Avatar and Prahlad Maharaj. So this is one of the very beautiful cantos. So this canto is main topics is Uti, or the impetus for work, why everybody engages in some work. And then it also describes Shuddha Bhakti and Mishra Bhakti. So the first 10 chapters is all descriptions about Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu and Narsinghadeva's glories. These are very beautiful, and the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj are so beautiful. The prayers he offers to Narsinghadev and the teachings, what he shares with Hiranyakashipu, are very, very beautiful. In which he also mentions of the famous Navavida Bhakti that is known, that the different 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dastyam, Sakhyam, and Atmanivedanam. That these are the 9 processes, starting with Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, glorifying, and Smaranam, or always remembering him, and then worshipping him and offering obeisances, becoming his friend, and ultimately Atmanivedanam, surrendering everything. These are the 9 processes, that is the best thing one can do in life. And obviously Hiranyakashipu was enemy of Vishnu. When he hears this, he gets angry, and then he tries to kill him in so many ways, but he is always protected. So eventually Narsinghadev appears from the pole, and then he kills this demon Hiranyakashipu. And then because of his angry mood, all the devatas come, but nobody goes to pacify him because they are all afraid. And then Brahmaji says, Prahlad, he came for you, so why don't you go ahead and pacify him? He is very angry. Then Prahlad goes and he offers those beautiful prayers, and then Hiranyakashipu asks him for many boons, and he says, please don't give me anything. But ultimately he ends up asking that, please forgive my father because he offended you so much. Please forgive him. And in that, Lord Narsinghadev says that because a devotee son or a pure bhakta, Shuddha Bhakta, has appeared in his dynasty, the 21 generations of your dynasty have been purified. So when we want to do something for our Pitaras, the best thing we can do is become devotee of Krishna. That's what the lesson we learn from here. So, and then the last 5 chapters is called about Mishra Bhakti. So the first 10 about Prahlada Shuddha Bhakti, and Mishra Bhakti is basically, it gives the perfect society and Varnashrama Dharma. It gives very nice description. What is the ideal family life? What are duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? What are duties of a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas? What are duties of women? What they should do, how they should behave in a family life, what are our duties, what we should do, and instructions for all civilized human beings. Very nice descriptions are given. And that ends this 7th canto. In the 8th canto, then there are descriptions of all the Manvantaras, the reigns of different Manus. So the 14 Manus, their names are given, who comes at what time, their descendants are given, how they administer the universe, what incarnations come in their reign when they are ruling, that is given. Then Gajendra, an elephant, who was King Indradyumna in his previous life. So when he is, we saw probably a picture that Gajendra, his feet is caught by a crocodile in water, and they both are fighting for, it's said, for thousands of years. And then Gajendra, after he is losing his power, he just picks up one lotus flower from the pond and offers prayers to Lord Krishna, and then he comes and he slays that crocodile and liberates him. So that story of Gajendra is here. Then the famous Samudra Manthan is also here. So during Samudra Manthan, how every step devatas and demons, they get some trouble and they go to Vishnu, and how he helps them from every step, from what to do. He asked devatas to do trust with demons because they are powerful right now, so you are not going to, it is not intelligent to fight with them, he says. Then he asked them to get nectar. For that we should do samudra manthan, the Kshir Sagar churning. So he asked them to get the Meru Parvat for churning. They tried to get, and it's so heavy that they are all killed. So he comes on, carries that on Garuda. So now the Meru Parvat starts sinking in the ocean. So he comes as a tortoise. Now that starts moving because there is nothing on the top. So he comes as Ajita and holds on the top. Then there are different incarnations in the 14 Ratnas that they come, and eventually at the end he comes as Dhanvantari incarnation with the nectar, Amrut. And then he comes again as Mohini Murti when they are distributing the nectar. So all this he helps in at every step. He is helping them. And then Lord Shiva, actually Lord Shiva helps drinking the poison during the ocean of, the very first thing that comes out of turning Samudra Manthan is the halahal. And then that time Lord Krishna says, okay, my devotee will take care of this. Lord Shiva drinks that and holds in this throat. The lesson there is, Lord Krishna, any impurities in this world, anything bad or bad qualities or anything, because Krishna is all pure, he doesn't accept it. So, but his devotees are so merciful that they accept it and they give benefit to the people who have those bad habits. So that same thing, the halahal, Lord Shiva, who is said to be the greatest of Vaishnavas, he drinks that and he saves the devatas and the demons. And then Lord Shiva is now interested in, he hears about Mohini Murti's beauty and he wants to see that form. And then there is description how he is said to be a very dhira person who is never agitated by the opposite sex, but he also is bewildered by the Mohini Murti incarnation. So that description is there. Then there is further descriptions of the Manus, and then the universal system, whole cabinet, how he sets up and how this whole universe is managed by the Manus, by appointing Indras and all those. So that is mentioned. Then Lord Vamandeva's incarnation is mentioned here, and Bali Maharaj, we know all these stories. He asked for 3 steps of land and how he covers whole universe in 2 steps, and in the 3rd step, he puts in on Bali's head and then he sends him to Patal Loka. So Bali is said to be one of the 12 Mahajanas described, even though because he surrenders everything to the Lord. And then in the end, there is description of fish incarnation. So the 9th canto, which is the main topic, is Ishanukatha, or the science of God, his different incarnations. So in this, Lord appears in 2 dynasties, so Surya Vamsha and Chandra Vamsha. So their descriptions are given. So dynasties of sons of Manu, which are basically Surya Vamsha. So Ambarish Maharaj, his story, he is offended by Durvasa Muni. And so Durvasa, who we know as is a very powerful sage and who gets angry very easily. So he once goes to Ambarisha Muni, and Ambarisha, he asks on the Ekadashi day, or Dwadashi day actually, the next day of Ekadashi, when he is supposed to break the fast, and Durvasa tries to test him. He goes to take bath and he asks him to wait, Ambarisha to wait for him. And Ambarisha, because he is the muhurta for breaking the fast is losing, he didn't want to lose that because he is devotee of Lord Vishnu. So he takes opinion of some Brahmana sages, some mantris and brahmanas from here, and they said that okay, you should just take tulsi leaf and water, and it is as good as you have not eaten or you have eaten, because the etiquette is that when brahmana, he knows that Durvasa is coming, he should never eat before him coming, before feeding him. But he didn't want to not break his fast as well, so he drinks some water, so it is as well as breaking fast but not eating. So that's what his advisors suggest. And then Durvasa, he knows everything. He understands this. So he came very angrily and he says that how you can insult me like this, because you knew I was coming and you ate before even I am coming. This is not good. You have done very big offense. And then he takes out one jata from him and creates a big demon, and that demon starts approaching to Ambarish Maharaj. But what happens is Sudarshan Chakra from Ambarish Maharaj's temple deity that comes and this kills that demon, and it starts following Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni goes to all the lokas. He goes to Brahma, he goes to Shiva, he goes to Vishnu in Vaikuntha, and asks them for saving him. But Brahma says, I cannot do anything, I'm sorry. Same thing Shiva says. Even Lord Vishnu says that Sudarshan Chakra is protecting my devotee and I cannot do anything. So you have to surrender to that devotee. So he comes back to Ambarish Maharaj after 1 year by doing all this and falls flat at Ambarish Maharaj's feet. And then Ambarish Maharaj, then he is very shy actually. He says, what you are doing? You are very great sage. And he requests Sudarshan Chakra to stop. And then Durvasa Muni thus gets saved by surrendering to a devotee of the Lord. So the lesson what we learn from this is that we learn from Bhagavad Gita that out of jnanis and yogis and karmis, bhaktas are all sreshth or great. They are not bereft of any of these fruits. And Durvasa Muni was one of the greatest yogis. He has all the mystic powers. But still, Ambarish Maharaj, he did not have any of this yogic power or anything. But because he was devotee of Krishna, he was protected from him. And the yogi, one of the great yogi, had to surrender to him. So the devotional service of the Lord is such a powerful thing. Then there is dynasties. In the Surya Vansha, there is Sagar, then Anshuman, Dilipa, and other dynasties. The King Bhagirath, their stories are there. Then Bhagirath also brings Ganga from higher planetary system to the earthly planetary system to save his ancestors, which were burned by Kapila Dev. Then there are pastimes of Lord Ramachandra and the dynasty of Kusha. So in 3-4 chapters, there is a shorter version of Ramayana there. Then Parshurama's incarnation is there. Then the Chandra Vansha, King Yayati's dynasties are mentioned. Yayati, his son Puru, then Bharat, and others. And then in that dynasty, Lord Krishna also appears as in the Yadu family. So Yadu is one of the sons of the Yayati. So, and then here the reference comes of Lord Krishna, and then the 10th canto starts. The 10th canto is all pastimes of Lord Krishna, his Leela in Vrindavan, how he kills demons, Putana, and then different demons, how he kills Kamsa, how he goes to Mathura, how sets up Dwarka, and all other different pastimes. Very beautiful chapter. But because it is said that we should take darshan from starting with lotus feet, if we have studied the first 9 cantos, it gives us the prowess and opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, about whom we are going to read in this 10th canto. Without that, if somebody reads only about Krishna's story, they may think that he was just a powerful person in history and then he came and gone. But when we read first 9 cantos, it gives us information that he is the source of everything. He is the creator of everything. He is the source of all that is spiritual and material. And he is beyond all the Vishnu avatars and Brahmaji and everything. So that's when we appreciate this Leela. That same Supreme Personality of Godhead, that same Supreme Bhagavan, when he comes to protect on the plea of Devatas and Brahmaji, and he does his activities, such beautiful pastimes as a child, then we appreciate that. All these Govardhan Leelas, killing of so many demons, Aghasur, Bakasur, Trinavrata, so many demons he kills. Then Brahma Vimohan Leela, where Brahmaji is bewildered. He thinks that who is this young boy? I did not how can he do these pastimes? And then he tries to steal the gopas and cows, and then Krishna shows his real nature, and then Brahma is very ashamed. Oh, you are my supreme lord, what did I do? So all these stories are in here. And then he establishes city of Dwarka. Then his marriage with Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, Nagnajiti, all these 8 queens, and then the 16,000 queens when he kills the Bhaumasura. When the queens are freed, they want to marry him, so he marries them. All this killing of Jarasandha in the hand of Bhima, killing of Shishupala in the Rajasuya Yajna. Then Sudama story is also there in this canto. Very beautiful story. Sorry? You're saying something, Kumar Prabhu?
So there is a reference of avatars and personalities from different time period.
Yes.
In all these 10 cantos or 9 cantos. I'm just trying to understand how they're basically, I would say family tree, but how they basically relate to each other, because we have heard of many of these names, like you told about Bali Raja or various others, and as individual standalone stories in childhood.
Yes.
But now, as how they are connected to each other, is there any relation between all these avatars or personalities?
Yes.
Is there any family relation between all these personalities that we are talking about? This is what basically I was trying to find out.
Yes, it is there, and maybe once I finish this, there should be a family tree picture based on the stories in this Bhagavatam. So that is somebody has done, and it's very beautiful. I think we saw it once, but I can share that. We can look up that. Okay, these are all from which dynasty, who came, and how they came. So but source of everything is Krishna. So that is there. Yeah. We can see that. Then there are some beautiful prayers by personified Vedas. So all these Vedas we know, so they are actually, everything here is basically persons. All the Saregama, the 7 Swaras, the Vedas, and everything, they are actually persons in the spiritual world, and they offer some beautiful prayers. Then Lord Shiva is actually, he is saved from a demon named Rukrasura. So we heard the story that he gives him a boon that and then he tries to use that boon on Lord Shiva himself, and then Shiva starts running, and then Lord Krishna saves him from that demon. And then Krishna and Arjuna, there is a Brahmana in the one of the Brahmanas, his sons always, as soon as they are born, they die, or they are lost. So this Brahmana says, there is no Kshatriya. Kshatriya is supposed to give protection to their praja. But what kind of Kshatriyas are you? You cannot protect my children. And then Arjuna says that, oh, I will give protection to them. Nobody can do anything. And even when Arjuna is protecting, his son is lost. And then Arjuna says that, okay, Arjuna takes a vow that if I cannot, then I will die. I will enter in the fire. So then Krishna says, tells him that don't go in the fire. We can retrieve all his sons. And then they go to the Karanodakshay Vishnu, Mahavishnu. So Arjuna and Krishna, Arjuna in his own body, they go out of this universe and they go to the Karana ocean. And then Lord Mahavishnu is stealing these sons because he just wanted to get darshan of Krishna. So all that pastimes are there. So there are some very beautiful stories. Then the 11th canto is very, very nice and beautiful philosophical stories. There are so many learning points in here. So here in the beginning, there is curse by Brahmanas to the Yadu dynasty, and how Yadu dynasty they fought. So this is all plan of Krishna. Krishna says that now it's time for me to live, but before me, I have to take care of the Yadu dynasty, and they have to finish. So then they fight among themselves and they die. Then Krishna also, there is disappearance of Lord Krishna and disappearance of Lord Yadu dynasty. All descriptions are given. So how Krishna disappeared in his own body, on his chariot, with his all knowledge and dharma and all his paraphernalia. That description is given very nicely here. Then we talked about the 9 sons or Navayogendras of Rishabadeva. So these 9 sons, they meet a king named Nimi, and then there is a conversation between these sons and King Nimi, and there is very nice philosophical discussions. King Nimi asks some very beautiful questions, and they answers him. There is also mention of how Lord is going to appear in Kali Yuga at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and starts this Sankirtan Yajna. So that description is also there. Then Uddhava is one of the cousins of Lord Krishna, and he is also one of the very great associates and devotees. So when Lord Krishna is about to leave this material world and finish his pastimes, Uddhava doesn't want to leave him. And he is very sad, but Lord Krishna pacifies him, and then he gives him very beautiful instructions in multiple chapters. He gives them perfection of their spiritual knowledge, what is pure bhakti. Then he covers, just like in Bhagavad Gita, he covered the Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma and everything. He gives very detailed how to do deity worship, what type of deities we can worship, and all that. So that portion of this Bhagavatam is also known as Uddhava Gita. So there are many commonalities between Bhagavad Gita and Uddhava Gita, but Uddhava Gita gives a lot more details than Bhagavad Gita. And then, as we saw, disappearance of Yadu dynasty and disappearance of Lord Krishna. He leaves this planet. And then the last chapter is more about Nirodha or Pralaya or destruction. So in the beginning of this chapter, Shukdev Goswami narrates all the symptoms, bad symptoms of Kali Yuga to Parikshit Maharaj. So there is something called Bhumi Gita, where Bhumi says that there are so many kings came and tried to rule over me, but nobody stayed here. Everybody is gone. So that shows us how the futility of winning over some land or claiming that this is my land or this is where I am ruling, because eventually everybody has to leave. The land remains here. Nothing goes with anybody. So there are a list of many kings in this past history that came and gone, and that is given. Then there is very nice description of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. How bad it is going to happen. What people are going to forget all things, and actually it also gives that people are going to have shorter lives eventually. It says that eventually there will be no milk because of cow slaughter. There will be no cow. There will be no grains, wheat or rice. And eventually, because of scarcity of this kind of food, because of mismanagement of people will start killing each other. And also the age will be so less that a 30-year-old man will be considered as a very old man eventually. And it will degrade so much. And then Parikshit Maharaj asked them, this is how Kali Yuga is, then is there anything better for them? How can we get out of these miseries? And then that shloka that Parikshit Maharaj, they said, Kaler doshe nidhe rajan asti ek mahan guna. That there are so many doshas in this Kali Yuga, but there is one ek very great quality. What is that? Kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sangha paramrojit. Just by doing Krishna Kirtan, and particularly this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, mukta sangha paramrojit, one can easily get out of this material entanglement of this Kali Yuga. Is freed from these symptoms of Kali Yuga. And then he says that, then he gives the Yuga Dharma for all 4 Yugas. Kriteya Dhyayato Vishnu. So in Krita means also Satya Yuga, also called as Kreta Yuga. So Dhyayato Vishnu. So that the Yuga Dharma for Krita or Satya Yuga is Vishnu, meditation on Vishnu. Tretayam Yajato Makhai. So Yajna, Makha means Yajna. So the great Agnihotra Yajnas with all the paraphernalia, that is the Yoga Dharma for Treta Yuga. It is not possible because it is even impossible to get pure ghee, and we need tons of ghee according to the scriptures if we have to perform that Agnihotra Yajna. Dwapare Pariyacharya. In Dwapar Yuga, the temple worship is prominent Yoga Dharma. And that's why, because we are in the beginning of this Kali Yuga, we see so many big temples still there. And so in Dwapare Paricharyaka, and then Kalau tad Hari Kirtanat. In Kali Yuga, just by doing Hari Kirtan, whatever benefits you could get in Satya Yuga by meditation, in Treta Yuga by Yajna, in Dwapar Yuga by temple worship, you can achieve same results just by Hari Kirtan or chanting Japa of Lord Krishna. So that is the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga. Then there are pralayas, or the different types of universal annihilation givers. What is Nitya Pralaya? That is constant deterioration that is happening on daily basis. People are growing, that is because of dying cells, and eventually we leave this body. So that constant deterioration is called Nitya Pralaya. Then there is something called Naimittika Pralaya. That is at the end of Brahma's day. When night happens, all the planets are destroyed. They are submerged in the Garbhodaka ocean, and then there are certain planets, Brahma's planets, and then the Janaloka, Tapaloka, some higher planets, they still remain. So some sages who are from the other planets, Janaloka, Tapaloka, they go to Maharloka or Satyaloka out of 4, and they do meditation on Krishna that time. Then Prakritika Pralaya, that is the destruction of the whole universe at the end of Brahma's life. That is Prakritika. And then Atyantika Pralaya is the Pralaya for the soul when it is liberated, when it gets completely freed from gross and subtle bodies. And then even the false ego. And then it gets liberated. So that is the final destruction of the soul, which it doesn't have to come back again. It goes to spiritual world. So that is Atyantika Pralaya. So these are mentioned. Then Shukdev Goswami's final instructions to Parikshit Maharaj about what is this, what is his duty, everything. And then Parikshit Takshak comes and it bites Parikshit Maharaj as predicted by the Brahman workers, and Parikshit Maharaj passes away. Then there is a very nice description by Sutta Goswami to Markandeya Rishi. He wants to see, he goes to Badrikashram to meet Nar Narayan Rishi, who is another incarnation of Krishna. And then he wanted to see the illusory energy of the Lord, how it is pervasive. And then how then whole ocean comes and then he's flowing everywhere, hither and thither, and then very graphic description of how he goes from everything. Then he sees one baby Krishna lying on the lotus leaf that we see picture sometimes. I have seen somewhere. He has thumb in his mouth, and that Krishna, he sees that, and he goes into me, and then he sees everything same. So that illusory energy darshan is given to Markandeya. And then in the end, topics of Bhagavad Gita are summarized in one chapter again, and then the last chapter, Bhagavatam, are summarized. There is summary of Bhagavatam, and then there are glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, how it is one of the greatest Purāṇas and it is glorified. So that's where this chapter ends. So from the last chapter of Bhagavatam, there are a couple of verses I picked for glorifying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So in the 15th verse, it says of the 13th chapter in 12th canto, Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate Tad Rasamrita Triptasya Nanyat Sadrati Kochit. That this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Sarva Vedanta Saram. It is the cream of all the Vedic literature. Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate. Tad Rasamrita Triptasya. And whoever has got some satisfaction by its Amruta, Rasa Amruta, by reciting this, Nanyatra Sadrati Kochit. He cannot have any attraction for any other literature. So it says that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted by any other literature. And then how Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is one of the, or out of all the Puranas, this is the best Purāṇa. It says that Nimnaganam Yatha Ganga Devanam Achyuto Yatha Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu Purāṇānam Idam Tatha. Just like Nimnaganam Yatha Ganga. So of all the rivers, just like Ganga is Sresht, or Ganga is the greatest, Devanam Achyuto Yatha, and of all the Devatas, Lord Krishna, Achyuta, is the greatest. He is the source of everything. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And of all the Vaishnavas who are devotee of Krishna, Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. In the same manner, Purāṇānam idam tata, this Bhagavata Purāṇa, idam, all the Puranas, this is the greatest Purāṇa. So that's how it is glorified. So benefits of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, they are mentioned in many of the chapters of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even in other Puranas actually. Even Bhagavatam is glorified in Padma Purāṇa, Brihaṇāradiya Purāṇa and Garuda Purāṇa but this I picked some 3 verses from second canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It says that Shunvata Shraddhaya Nittam Granantascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Na Atidirghena Bhagavan Vishate Hridhi. That persons who hear Shrunvatam, Shraddha Purvak je aikta the, persons who hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly and are always taking this matter very seriously, will have the personality of Godhead, Krishna, manifested in their hearts, Bhagavan Vishate Hridhi, when within a very short time. Kalena na atidirghena, Bhagavan Vishate Hridhi. And when what is the another benefit? The next verse says, Pravishta Karna Randrena, when this nectar goes through our ear and in our heart, Swanam Bhavasaroruham, Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna, all the material mal or bad things, whatever we have in our heart, Krishna himself cleans that. Salilasya Yathasharad. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material associations such as lust, anger, and hankering, and thus acts as autumnal rain, Sharad Rutut Padlila Paus, upon pools of muddy water, which cleanses all the mud. And when the heart is cleansed, what happens? Dhautatma Purusha Krishna. When the heart is cleansed, though that Atma who is cleansed in his heart, Dhautatma Purusha, Krishna Padamulam Namunchati. He never gives up Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna Padamulam Namunchati. Mukta Sarva Pariklesha. Because he is freed from all the kleshas, all anxieties, he is always satisfied. And Panthaswa Sharanam Yatha. Just like a troubled traveler, when he comes back home, he is relieved from all the miseries. Pantha, a traveler, Swa Sharanam, when he returns back to his own home. Just like we say, east or west, home is the best. So even after, when we go for some troubled journey, when we come back home, we are so relieved of all the stress of that travel. So in the same manner, when we accept the lotus feet of Krishna, we are really at home, because that is our spiritual home. And then he is always satisfied. So by just hearing, so this says that when devotee is purified, a pure devotee of Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after troubled journey. So these are some benefits. There are so many other from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself. So this is all about Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is a very, very high level overview of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I know it may be lots of information, but this is one of the beautiful things that I have ever read in my life. And it's not, I won't say that I have understood much, but there is so much to learn from this, from all perspectives. So I'll stop here and let's open up for reflections or thoughts. Anything you want to share, please.
So what about the other cantos, right? 13 to 18?
Oh, there are 12 cantos only.
Oh, 12 cantos only.
That's it. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. Bhagavatam has 12 cantos.
Purāṇa try.
So yes, Prabhuji, any reflections, anything you want to say, please say something. Everybody want to hear from.
प्रभूजी,
येस प्रभू.
हे ते काय म्हणतात कलियुगाचे सिम्पटम्स सांगितले राईट, हाऊ द कलियुग विल बी. तर आपण म्हणतो की आता एवढी कलियुग होऊन गेली तर प्रत्येकाची सिम्पटम्स अशीच होती का साधारणतः?
Yes. So all the Kali Yuga, the symptoms would be similar. Of course, every Kali Yuga will have its own differences, but yeah, Kali Yuga symptoms are similar. But the quality is so powerful that it is said that many sages and devatas, they want to get birth in Kali Yuga because the process is so simple and so fast. Thoughts?
The only thing is, I think most of the stories we have heard, but there are many stories that we don't even know about, right? Especially in some of the early chapters. So yeah, that would be good to know in details.
Okay. No, it's very nice. Yeah. Thank you. Kumar Prabhu.
We know many of these stories in isolation, but collectively Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam असं आत्ताच म्हणजे while in last 1 year only I have heard about it. Earlier I had not heard about Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as such. पण बाकी पुराण बद्दल वगैरे भरपूर ऐकलेलं आहे, वेदांबद्दल वगैरे, पण Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam I've heard of for the first time actually. And as Sandeep said, many stories we know in isolation, but collectively they are covered in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. हे आत्ताच कळते.
Yeah, and there are so many other stories which we could not cover in this. Like King Shibi story or some other stories.
Yeah, this was a brief overview actually.
Yeah, this was very high level. And again, even in 7 days, actually, we say that Bhagavat Saptah, but even in 7 days, it is impossible to cover Bhagavatam. But I just wanted to
actually
18,000 shlok, right?
Yes, 18,000.
I think I have heard some Bhagavat Saptah somewhere. I think they had some lectures, but then most of the focus was on stories of Krishna, not the other chapters, right? So only focus mostly on the probably 10th chapter or so.
And the time focus is more on recitation than understanding.
वाचलंय ना, म्हणजे ययाती किंवा दधीची नंतर हे कोण आपले शुक्राचार्याचे आता कलेक्टिव्हली ते कुठून आले ते गेटिंग द सोर्स ऍक्च्युअली. आणि त्या आयसोलेशन मध्ये वाचलेल्या गोष्टी छोट्या गोष्टी एक वेळ.
And these stories appear in all the Puranas actually, different ways and different things. So there are some common things but Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, as said, based on Narad Muni's instruction, Shri Vasudeva directly glorified the Bhagavan, because in all other Puranas or on other literatures, God's descriptions are given indirectly. But here it is clearly given. That was the main purpose of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
भागवत ऍक्च्युली हे सगळं ओव्हरव्ह्यू मिळाल्यामुळं आयडिया आले बऱ्याचशा स्टोरीजची. जे आता 1-2 मी म्हणजे भागवत सप्ताह जे कार्यक्रम होतात ते पण ऐकले, पण आता कसं की ते 7 दिवसाच्या याच्यामध्ये एवढं सगळं ते डिटेलमध्ये नाही हे घेत. काही जे हे म्हणजे कृष्णाचे ज्या काही लीला ते पाठ जास्त हे करतात मला वाटतं. तर हे जे बाकीचे आपण आता जे सगळे बघितले ते एक ओव्हरव्ह्यू मिळाल्यामुळं सगळी आयडिया आली की बाबा त्याच्यामध्ये काय काय कव्हर्ड आहे. गुड टू नो. आणि थोडंसं अजून डिटेलमध्ये आता वाचायला लागेल, म्हणजे क्युरियोसिटी एक हे झाली डेव्हलप त्याच्यामध्ये.
That's good. म्हणजे वाचायची एक उत्सुकता लागली आता की काय असेल.
आता त्यामध्ये डिटेल मध्ये वाचायला सांगितलं. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Kiran Prabhu, any reflection?
Prabhuji, first of all, thank you so much for this, I think, bird's eye view of Bhagavatam. Some of the stories we could correlate. Maybe we had heard either earlier or maybe in Bhagavad Gita now what we are reading. But many of the new things which we came to know today, probably we have not even heard of those stories. So definitely it will be interesting to know them. And most important is the correlation between these two. It's like some of the stories we have heard in isolation. It will be great if we can correlate them. It's like how if we know that in a standalone, we just know that story. But त्याचा संदर्भ काय आहे आणि कसा तो एकमेकाशी जोडलेला आहे हे कळलं तर आणखीन जास्त त्याच्याबद्दल इंटरेस्ट निर्माण होईल किंवा त्याचा थोडस अजून डीप नॉलेज मिळेल असं वाटतं. In this such a short time, I think in a very concise manner, you have explained us what is Bhagavatam. So much for that. It will definitely created interest that to know and in more deeper knowledge we can get it. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I think so. मुख्य गोष्ट आहे की याच्यामुळे उत्सुकता होईल आता काय वाचायची त्यास आणि you can just read it as a story philosophy. There is lots of philosophy in our, but what आपलं काय होतं की आपण फक्त स्टोरी ऐकतो त्याच्या मागे लेसन्स काय आहेत ते कळतच नाही आपल्याला लहानपणापासून ऐकतो तेव्हापासून मुख्य लेसन. So this helped me a lot personally.
Yeah. I think एक जी स्टोरी जी सांगितली, आय थिंक त्याच्यामध्ये यमदूत येतात आणि त्यांना
अजामिल स्टोरी.
I think similar story is there. Other major like जसं आता इथे आपण म्हणतोय की विष्णू किंवा भगवान कृष्णांचे जे आहेत तर म्हणून त्यांच्याकडे जायचं नाही म्हणून यम स्वतः सांगतात. म्हणजे बेसिकली दोज हू आर chanting their name or worshipping God, ते मला प्रिय आहे त्यांच्याकडे जायचं नाही. That is what is the probably the message which we got. Similar, I heard another story also where like जे शंकराचे जे भक्त आहेत ते म्हणजे those who are worshipping, म्हणजे अशी स्टोरी पण आहे की महाशिवरात्रीच्या वेळेला जे काही इवन और जे भस्म लावतात म्हणजे तशी पण एक स्टोरी की ज्यांनी जे भस्म धारण करतात तर ते शंकराला प्रिय आहेत. तर देन यमाचे दूत त्यांना म्हणजे त्यांचा अल्टिमेटली दिस इज द वर्क विच इज असाइन्ड टू यम की ज्याचं जे काय लिहून ठेवलेलं आयुष्य आहे त्याचं जे आहे त्याचं कार्य तिथलं संपलं की त्याला आयदर त्याच्या कर्मानुसार स्वर्गात किंवा नरकात घेऊन जायचं आहे. That is the work which is assigned to Yam basically. Yamache दूत in the end they take away that person or that soul. So ज्यांनी भस्म धारण केलेले आहे जे शंकराचे ते शंकराला प्रिय आहे तर that also it is mentioned if you are worshipping Shankar, Lord Shankar and then भस्म धारण केलं असेल तर तिथे यमाच्या दूतांना ते पळवून लावलं, त्यांना घेऊन नाही जाऊ दिलं those souls. So something similar which story is there also, means like I have read it somewhere.
Okay, yeah, that's very nice to hear.
Actually मलाही आठवतंय शिवपुराणामध्ये काहीतरी थोडस वाचलं तर त्याच्यामध्ये होती सिमिलर स्टोरी आहे त्याची.
अल्टिमेटली म्हणजे या सगळ्याचं केलं तर म्हणजे लाईक अल्टिमेटली इफ यू वर्शिप भगवान कृष्ण और मे बी लाईक वी सेड ते सगळे पुढचे सगळे अवतार आहेत म्हणजे those who worship them then they don't have to worry about all these things. This God will take care of them. And probably हे सगळ्या ज्या वाईट ज्या गोष्टी आहेत त्याच्यापासून तुम्ही दूर राहू शकता. Probably that helps in keeping away this all evils. This is different ways, means from different probably भागवतम मधनं आहे, शिवपुराण मधनं आहे, अजून बऱ्याच ह्याच्यात हे these are in different ways it is explained. Ultimately like it is very simple. आणि म्हणून जे वारंवार आय थिंक whenever we say and you guide us brightly की जे याच्यात दोन्ही याच्यात सांगितले आता आज काल भागवतम मध्ये पण आणि इव्हन गीतेमध्ये की सगळ्यात सोपं आताच्या युगामध्ये जे आहे ते जस्ट डू just worship Lord Krishna and just do the Shravanam Kirtanam. That will keep us away from all these things. That is, ultimately it leads to that, means after you hear from all this. Very important.
Yes, that is very important. Nama Sankirtana, Nama Smaran. And yeah, so all the 18 जे पुराण आहेत तर आपण भगवद्गीतेत शिकलोय की 3 गुण आहेत, तमोगुण, सतोगुण, रजोगुण. आणि बिकॉज म्हणजे सनातन धर्म इज ऑल इन्क्लुसिव्ह, सो जे लोक तमोगुणात जास्त आहेत किंवा जे रजोगुणात आहेत किंवा जे सतोगुणात आहेत, सगळ्यांसाठी एकच इन्स्ट्रक्शन कशी कॉमन ठरेल ना. सगळ्यांसाठी वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी करायला लागतील. जसं एखादा मुलगा म्हणजे जे मुलांचे कशी वागणूक आहे त्याच्यावरून पॅरेंट्स किंवा टीचर दे मे पनिश देम डिफरंटली, बट अल्टिमेट गोल इज टू मेक देम गुड सिटीजन्स. So ultimate goal of all the Vedic literature, all Puranas, is to somehow bring you at higher and higher level. So जे 18 पुराण आहेत त्या 18 पुराणांमध्ये 6 पुराण हे तमोगुणातल्या लोकांसाठी जास्त हे दिलेत असे, त्यांच्यासाठी योग्य आहेत असे. त्यानंतर 6 पुराण आहेत जे ते रजोगुणात जे आहेत, ज्यांना खूप गोष्टींचं असं इच्छा आहे, सगळे भोगण्याची इच्छा आहे किंवा वेगळ्या गोष्टी पाहिजेत त्यांना मटेरियलिस्टिक वर्ल्ड मध्ये, त्यांच्यासाठी आहेत. आणि 6 जे आहेत ते ऑलरेडी जे सतोगुणामध्ये आहेत, ज्यांच्यात चांगल्या वृत्ती आलेल्या आहेत, त्यांच्यासाठी 6 पुराण आहेत. आणि त्या 6 मध्ये सर्वात हे जे भागवत पुराण आहे इट इज सेड टू बी गुणातीत, म्हणजे आपण हे म्हटलंय ना की ट्रान्सेंडेंटल टू ऑल द मोड्स ऑफ मटेरियल नेचर. सो दिस इज द हायेस्ट ऑफ ऑल. So it's not that everybody will accept this immediately, because somebody who is at lower modes of material nature, then they may get attracted to other Puranas, but they should follow those Puranas because that will bring them slowly at higher level. So that's how these are divided. Even the Vedic literature, there are rituals for everybody. It is all inclusive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kiran Prabhu. Rajesh Prabhu?
Yeah. ते आता जे सांगितलं की थ्रूआउट कम्प्लीट भागवतम 1 to 18 18वा अध्यायापर्यंत काही सारांश होता. राईट फ्रॉम म्हणजे मोर ऑफ सायंटिफिक थिंग्स आर ऑल्सो देअर याच्यामध्ये. म्हणजे कालगणना ऍटम पासून वगैरे त्याचे पहिले कुठल्या मध्ये एक उल्लेख आलेला आहे त्याचा.
3rd Canto 11th chapter.
11th chapter मध्ये म्हणजे आय डोंट दे नो द ऍटम आणि कालगणना कशी करायची तिथपासून ते डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द युनिव्हर्स. And they are not talking destruction of the planet, universe, and ultimately spirit up to that level it has been thought of quite big. मला काय वाटतं, okay, for me my concept of God is quite widened now actually. आणि म्हणजे देव ही संकल्पना जी होती फार लिमिटेड मी बघत होतो, कदाचित असेल किंवा आधी जे होतं आयडिया आणि आता जे आहे तर ओके द विजन इज मच मोर ब्रॉड अँड वायडन नाव. आणि त्याला सायंटिफिक आधार पण आहे असं मला वाटतंय आता. म्हणजे कारण काय की जोपर्यंत तुम्हाला ते प्रॉपर सांगत नाही कोणी किंवा त्याच्याबद्दल फार लिमिटेड नॉलेज मध्ये याच्यात होतो. आता त्याच्या मागे भरपूर शास्त्र आहे, भरपूर आहे जे आपण वाचलेलंच नाही किंवा माहितीच नाही असं मला वाटतं. अज्ञान आहे म्हणजे ते. तर म्हणजे त्यामुळे ऍज आय सेड की आय बिलीव्ह मोर ऑन गॉड नाव. ओके. म्हणजे कारण याचं दुसरं पण सांगतो, याच्यामध्ये काय कलियुगातल्या गोष्टींबद्दल, आता आपल्याला द्वापार, त्रेता आणि सत्ययुग त्याबद्दल माहिती नाही, पण कलियुगातलं लाईक डिटरेशन ऑफ नेचर, मनकाइंड किंवा इन्व्हायरमेंट, हे जे काही ज्या गोष्टी सांगितलेल्या आहेत, प्रॅक्टिकली वी आर सीइंग दिस नाव ऑल, अँड द स्पीड इट इज गेटिंग डिटरेटेड इज ऑल्सो वी आर सीइंग इट ऍक्च्युअली. म्हणजे ह्या गोष्टी त्यांनी फार पूर्वी सांगून ठेवलेल्या आहेत. ज्यावेळी हे भागवत लिहिलेलं होतं त्यावेळी सांगितलेलं आहे, आणि एव्हरीथिंग वी आर फाइंडिंग इट एक्झॅक्टली द सेम वे इट इज हॅपनिंग. तो आता आपल्याला जे समोर दिसतं त्याच्यावर आपण विश्वास ठेवतो, तर जे गोष्टी आहेत इतर म्हणजे यात सगळ्यात सत्य आहे असं मला वाटतंय ऍक्च्युअली. म्हणजे गॉड ही जी काही फार छोटीशी कल्पना नाही, इट्स मच मच वायडर, बिगर, आणि अख्खं युनिव्हर्स चालवणार असं आहे ते. सो गुड टू नो, अँड फार नेसंट आणि बाल्यावस्था म्हणायला हरकत नाही याच्यात माहिती घेताना. अजून आय विल रीड भागवतम, म्हणजे नक्कीच. आता दिस प्रॉम्प्ट मी टू रीड द बुक. आय वॉज जस्ट थिंकिंग की कधी रीड करायचं, दॅट्स व्हॉट. टोटल डेच्या शेड्यूल मध्ये मी कधी ती सगळी पुस्तकं वाचेन किंवा कसं वाचेन, किंवा ऑनलाईन वाचेन का किंवा फिजिकली वाचेन का. थोडी डिसिप्लिन पाहिजे हे सगळं वाचायला आणि ते माहिती घ्यायला सुद्धा. तर बघूयात कसं होतंय. ओके.
That's a very good thought too. प्रल्हाद काका, तुम्हाला काही सांगायचंय?
ह्यातले पहिली दुसरीच्या पुस्तकामध्ये आम्हाला त्यावेळेस काहीतरी गोष्टी होत्या भागवतम मध्ये, तेवढ्याच माहिती आहेत. आता तुम्ही या संदर्भ दिला त्यात बऱ्याचशा अशा गोष्टी आहेत, म्हणजे ते वाचलंच पाहिजे.
धन्यवाद काका. So any more reflections? I was looking up for Kumar Prabhu's question. So I will share this, but let me share, म्हणजे मी ग्रुपवर शेअर करेन. Let me share because on here for some time. The family tree. Tell me if you can see this. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So this is the family tree somebody has drawn. Actually, this I heard. I don't know how true that is. Some high school teacher here in the US, high school teacher, high school student, they had some project and they built this full family tree from Bhagavatam. So based on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So this is actually at a very high level. There is one very detailed that is very big, but this I wanted to share, and I'll share this on the group also, in the WhatsApp group. But here this says that Krishna is the source. Let me zoom in a little bit. And then all the Lord Brahma, then this Swayambhuva Manu, we saw this Priyavrata, Uttanapad, Akuti, Prasuti, Devauti. So all these names we heard. Then Priyavrata has one daughter. She married to Shukracharya. Then their daughter is Devayani. So we know this Devayanita from Yayati story. She married to Yayati. Then he had 13 sons, and then all their descendants, Agnidra and all this, King Nabi, Rishabadeva, we saw this. Then this is basically son dynasty. So Bharata, Navayogendra has 90 other sons, and then many other descendants. So all this. Then Uttanapad, Suruchi and Sumiti. So then Dhruva is here. Dhruva's son is Utkala. And so all these all names are there in the Bhagavatam. These all details are there. Then if you see here, Lord Krishna again appears somewhere. So Atri Rishi, then all these, so his sons, Lord Brahma, with all these Prajapatis. So Atri, Narad Muni, Marichi's son is Kashyap, and Kashyap's wives are Diti, Aditi, and other wives. So he had like some wives. Then Diti's sons are Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, all this. And then here, Prahlada's dynasty is all given here. Prahlad, his son Virochan, Virochan's son is Bali, his son is Bana, and others. Then all this is given here. So I'll share this here. So this kind of gives a high level information about the family tree.
Thank you.
This is what you're looking for, right, Kumar Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I will send this. So I hope that was, I know that was like drinking, what we call generally is drinking from hose. A big pipe is running and then you can drink only a little of it. But I thought it would be helpful just to get a high level overview of what Bhagavatam is, because we hear this all the time, and sometimes in Bhagavad Gita discussions also I want to bring some references from Bhagavatam because they help deepen our understanding of Bhagavad Gita shlokas.